Ouachita National Forest runs the Caddo River, and it's these waters that rose so high it trapped the Evangeline Boy Scout troop for days. Conjures up many memories for these veterans, but most of them center around these 4,000 SARs. Well, is still blocked off. That's because that 1 mile mandatory evacuation still going to be in effect. Motivated processes 60,000 pounds of oysters per day, but after the spill, that was cut in half, and it wasn't even directly because of crude oil.
Authorities are tonight letting the fire burn itself out, and the investigation into exactly what happened is just beginning. Let's go to the scene now. KATC's Maddie Garrett has been covering the story from the get-go, and Maddie, word tonight from the company that owns the plant.
That's right, Jim. We just spoke to a Multichem representative about half an hour ago. Multichem also confirming that there were no serious injuries in this incident, saying that all employees actually evacuated very quickly and followed safety procedures. But Multichem is still investigating what exactly caused this explosion here today, saying that this was a storage facility where the incident happened and that there's a variety of chemicals that come and go every day there. So they couldn't even speculate on what those chemicals were that were burning today, and they're going to have to wait till the fires die down. State police said just minutes ago the fires are still burning at that plant tonight. They'll have to wait till everything dies down and go in tomorrow to find out just what happened. Around 3:30 Tuesday afternoon, something exploded inside the Multichem plant, sending up huge fireballs and billows of smoke.
Big fireballs coming out that thick smoke. It was scary.
I could see the smoke constantly, and it just kept getting darker and darker.
The plant processes chemicals used in the oil field, but state police still haven't determined what chemicals were burning in this fire.
It's very scary because we don't know what chemicals were involved in the explosion yet.
We're asking people if they're downwind of the smoke to shelter in place, meaning turn off your air conditioner, close your windows, close your doors, bring your pets inside. If you feel like you've been contaminated, we're asking you to take a shower.
Nearby businesses were evacuated, including the UL Primate Research Center, which houses 7,000 primates and employs roughly 200 people. All personnel got out, and they believe all animals are safe.
Once the area is deemed safe, there are employees that are on standby that will take care of the care and the nurturing of the primates.
And while police did decide to let the fire burn down at the plant, there is good news to be found here. Miraculously, no workers were reported injured from this massive explosion.
All employees at all businesses affected have been accounted for.
Now, there were rumors floating around earlier today that 4 people were treated for burn injuries from this incident, but Acadian Ambulance and the Iberia Medical Center say that those are not confirmed and that they have no knowledge of those injuries at all. So still not officially any reported injuries. And you can see right here, Admiral Doyle is still blocked off. That's because that 1 mile mandatory evacuation still going to be in effect through the night and at least until tomorrow morning till they can reassess the situation. 3's on the street tonight reporting live in New Iberia. I'm Maddie Garrett for KATC TV3.
Just after the sun came up, a dramatic rescue plays out in Arkansas. Authorities locating and rescuing an Evangeline Council Boy Scout troop.
They were missing since Sunday when the 6 boys and 2 leaders did not return home as expected from a camping trip. KATC's Maddie Garrett was in Arkansas early this morning as the boys were brought to safety. It is a story you will see only on TV3.
Here in the mountains of the Ouachita National Forest runs the Caddo River, and it's these waters that rose so high it trapped the Evangeline Boy Scout troop for days.
Our real problem did begin Saturday night when the rain came in a little earlier than the forecast had been.
Scout leader Jeff Robinson knew they had hit danger. It was Saturday night, the river was rising, and it was already growing dark.
They did exactly what they needed to do. They hunkered down, waited it out.
And so they waited for over 2 days as the relentless rain poured down.
We don't mind being cold. We don't mind being wet. We don't want to be cold and wet. So that was probably our biggest challenge.
When no one in Acadiana had heard from the Evangeline troop by Sunday night, family members called the Arkansas State Police. Authorities located the troop's van at the Albert Pike Recreation Area that night, but the scouts were nowhere to be found.
We were worried about them trying to cross the river and trying to make it out on the other side and getting swept away by the water.
But these scouts knew better and stayed put on high ground.
They trusted us, and we trusted them to follow the directions and keep their heads on their shoulders, and they did. So I was real proud of the scouts.
Rescue teams searched on foot Monday.
Yesterday we worked until we just absolutely 100% could not go anymore. And the water, kept us at bay all day. The low ceiling in these mountains right here kept the helicopters at bay.
Finally, around 2:30 a.m. Tuesday, the National Guard was able to get a helicopter into the area and spot the scouts. They first dropped in supplies and then began the rescue mission around 6:30 Tuesday morning. The 6 teens and 2 leaders are a little more seasoned after this trip in Arkansas, and they say they're ready for their next adventure in just a month. Reporting from the Ouachita National Forest in Arkansas, I'm Maddie Garrett for KATC TV3.
It's emotional. It's emotional for me. I almost want to tear.
Thank you for joining us for this Memorial Day. 79 World War II veterans got the chance of a lifetime to visit our and the memorials there. KTT's Maddie Garrett went along for the ride. It's the second part of our special Memorial Day series on Louisiana Honor Air's Final Flight.
As they emerged from the plane in Washington, D.C., it was a hero's welcome for some of our nation's greatest military men and women.
Unbelievable, believe me. When we hit that airport, I was overwhelmed, really.
It was the trip of a lifetime for these soldiers, Marines, and sailors.
Thank you for your service. Welcome to your memorial.
A chance to visit the National World War II Memorial and pay their respects one last time.
I'm glad I lived long enough to see it.
It's beautiful, and it's got so much meaning to it. Had it not been for this flight, I would never have seen this.
For these vets, the war is still fresh in their minds. It doesn't seem like it ended nearly 65 years ago.
I remember D-Day because I was there, and that's what it brings back to me.
It's emotional. It's emotional for me.
Being here at the memorial in Washington, D.C. conjures up many memories for these veterans, but most of them center around these 4,000 stars that represent the brothers and sisters in war that died.
The many person that those stars represent, we can never, never repay their lives.
A debt that can never be repaid.
They will never be forgotten, so we should not forget them.
As a dying generation of veterans pay tribute to their comrades lost and the victories won so long ago.
Words is hard to describe. I almost want to tear.
Everywhere you go, come shake your hand. Thanks for your help, We did what we could, It was wonderful.
Reporting in Washington, D.C., I'm Maddie Garrett for KATC TV3.
Those are all cold oysters on the deck of the boat there.
Workers for Motivated Oysters endlessly dredge year-round all along the coast of Louisiana. This week, it's Bayou Du Large.
Hey, Polo!
But during and after the BP oil spill, their livelihood was in danger.
Some areas were oiled, some areas were sheen, a lot of the areas were precautionary closures.
Steve Voisin, along with his brother Mike, are 7th-generation oystermen.
And then we'll go over and show you where they freeze some of the oysters.
After the spill, they first worried about oil contamination because oysters don't move.
We were, of course, very concerned about when will this thing get capped.
Motivated processes 60,000 pounds of oysters per day, but after the spill, that was cut in half, and it wasn't even directly because of crude oil. Voisin says fresh water poured into the estuaries to keep the oil offshore killed millions of oysters, not the oil.
The amazing thing is the estuaries where a lot of the oysters were produced, oil never got into a lot. Most of the estuaries never saw one.
Voisin remains confident that his oysters are safe to eat.
Very few samples. Some have had some PAHs in them, but very few. And all of those have been 100 to 1,000 times below any level of concern.
But he's less sure if people will still buy his product.
we will feel the pain of this. We will be scarred from it. We will stand up and walk and run again.
It will only take a few years for Mother Nature to replenish the oyster beds, but it could be much longer to rebuild a damaged industry.
We'll bring them to the other side of the plant, and then that'll be frozen and held for 6 months to a year.
Reporting in Houma, I'm Maddie Garrett for KATC TV3.